Live streaming ng Ramadan. Sige lang. This project is doing the 100 so it's sensing and sometimes the oxygen detection is low, security systems, parking assistance, and the basic concept of data and use simplifies this project demonstrates how Cardinal can help with different data basic
Indira Gandhi International Airport at New Delhi is testing pilots 1,000 meter lights.
Receiver, a photodetector which senses the light source. The basic principle is physics, which says when there is a light transmitted through the atmosphere, like a fog or a smog or a dust particles, whatsoever.
Great accomplishment.
which one's I think yeah, different. Two different bits. Right, so like really interpreted. Really interpreted. And also please. Was I very yes. It could just be any source of heavy stuff in the field of which makes it dangerous for undeveloped areas and overall it's and then that's even by Maybe not that good. Oh, okay. And you can see that particularly the white ones, which happens to make mistakes. Like for example, in this case, we have made an object get picked up by the robotic arm and placed down or some other place. So you think how much talking to the inner problem as a object is important. Yeah. Besides this is this question. Right now, we like a raw model that
loaded na lahat yan, pwede naman yung stream, mga oras na walang yung pwede tanggalin sa mga.
National Science Day has been celebrated in India on the 28th of February. I'm glad to say that the Indo-Japan Science and Technology Cooperation is one of the strong pillars of our international science and technology engagements.
It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming our excellencies on this occasion of the India's National Science Day 2025 that we are celebrating today at the Embassy of India.
I'm delighted to note that this year marks the 40th anniversary of the signing of the Japan-India Science and Technology Cooperation Agreement. To commemorate this milestone, we have designated the period from this April to next March as the Japan-India Science, Technology and Innovation Exchange Year, during which we will further deepen our cooperation in the fields of science and technology.
I hope this anniversary year will further deepen the partnership between Japan and India. Dhanyawad. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the next segment of today's program, the technical session featuring scientific and technical talks. To begin, it is my pleasure to show a video message from Padma Shri Dr. Shubha Venkatesha Iyengar, former scientist CSIR India, on the research journey.
Indira Gandhi International Airport at New Delhi is one of the busiest airports of the world. Despite very low visibility due to winter fog, the business is almost as usual. Flights are taking off and landing routinely. No chaos or hustle bustle among passengers. But few years back, low visibility on runways was a nightmare for passengers. Large number of flights delayed, diverted or cancelled used to hit aviation sector badly. A single indigenous technology has made the starking difference, and it is Drishti, that has added vision to airports under such adverse scenarios. Fog, dust storms or heavy rains, whenever visibility dips, Drishti helps pilots by giving distance one can see on runway. Drishti, technically a transmissometer, is an innovative development by CSIR's Bengaluru-based National Aerospace Laboratories, that is NAL. CSIR NAL developed Drishti under an agreement with Indian Meteorological Department in 2011 and operationalized the system at IGI Airport same year. Since then, it has not looked back. Currently, 101 Drishtis are helping pilots across Indian airports. 47 Drishtis are operational in 21 international airports, and 54 Drishtis are serving nation in 18 Indian Air Force bases. The system is highly robust, with high mean time between failures and a maximum downtime of 10 to 15 minutes only for maintenance. With a baseline of 30 meter, Drishti reports data non-stop in all weather conditions to cover the wide span of visibility from 25 meter to 2000 meter. Drishti, also known as Runway Visual Range System, is installed at 100 meter parallel to runway in 3 sets. One at touchdown point, the other at midway, and the third set at takeoff point. Each set has a transmitter, which is actually a lamp very similar to runway lights. It emits light, which is sensed by sensors embedded in the receiver.
Drishti works in a very simple way, in the sense there is a light source and there is a receiver, a photo detector which senses the light source. The basic principle is a physics which says when there is a light transmitted through an atmosphere like a fog or a smog or a dust particles, whatever it is, then the intensity of the light reaching the sensor depends on the atmosphere between the receiver and the lamp. So in that way, the attenuation of the light coming out of the lamp is recorded, and that is converted into a distance which is reported to the pilot as a distance. This is all according to International Civil Aviation Organization stipulations, and we have a very simple physics, but in the end it gives a very important parameter for pilots.
Data from the field site is transmitted through Wi-Fi and landline communications to the air traffic controller, which is generally 3 to 5 km away. Specially developed Drishti integrated visibility software analyzes the data, and the visibility reports are communicated to pilots for guidance. Data from all the runways of an airport can be viewed on a single screen at ATC, thus avoiding computer and instruments congestion. Data can also be remotely accessed for analysis, making it a dynamic system of one of its kind. And the icing on the cake is its unique web-enabled health monitoring system that can be remotely operated from any location in the country. Most of the maintenance issues are addressed online, making it cost-effective, prompt and user-friendly.
From 2011 onwards, Drishti is working continuously without any maintenance whatsoever. It's very cost-effective, saving a lot of foreign exchange to the country. And not only that, the maintenance cost is almost negligible. I would say zero.
Drishti has successfully fulfilled the mandatory requirement of the International Civil Aviation Organization and World Meteorological Organization for safe airport operations. Drishti is a fine example of Indian ingenuity that is heralding a new era of Make in India with global acclaim. Inquiries are pouring in for its supply to overseas clients, and no wonder it has won many laurels, awards, and honors on various fora. Mission is on to equip all airports, including Udan airports, with Drishti systems. Drishti has become a national rage at Indian airports and ready to fly overseas. A great accomplishment indeed.
Madam is online, so if there is a question, we can take one or two questions to ma'am. If anybody wants to ask anything, yes, please. I'll just.
So, like, my question is regarding the airport systems that Drishti has set up. Oh, sorry. So my question for ma'am is that regarding the airport system they've set up, there's also like one more system they call ILS in ICAO standards. Can ma'am please explain the exact difference between how Drishti is different from ILS and the systems which are present already at these airports? Difference between how Drishti is different from ILS and the systems which are present already at these airports? Difference between how Drishti is different from ILS and the systems which are present already at these airports?
ILS system is entirely different. The pilot has to be trained to know about how he can operate ILS. This is put parallel to the runway, 100 meters away from the central line of the runway, and then it gives continuous. This is all according to International Civil Aviation Organization. It's a must equipment for any airport to function. As I explained to you, it is a source of light, and the light diminishing in the intensity of the light is converted into a distance, and all these are as per International Civil Aviation Organization stipulations. And not only that, the formula what we use is a logarithmic equation, which is a exponential equation. So it is even a small change in the intensity of the voltage. The photodetector light, it receives a light, and the light intensity is converted into a voltage through photodetector, and that voltage is converted into a distance as per the formula stipulated by the International Civil Aviation Organization. ILS is an entirely different system.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. One more question. Okay, thank you. Ma'am, there is no more question now. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being with us this afternoon. A big applause. And very many congratulations for having Padam Shri Award this year, 2026. And I believe it will be conferred soon. Many congratulations on behalf of Embassy of India and all the participants. Congratulations, ma'am. Thank you.
May I now invite Pravasi Bharatiya Samman awardee Dr. Ruby Pawankar, professor at Nippon Medical School, Tokyo, to deliver her presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My greetings to our Science and Technology Minister, Minister Jitendra Singh, and our ministers who have been here, to Madam Nakma Malik, who has been here with us, to our Science Counselor, Mr. Yaswant, who's been so generous and active through this year, and warmest greetings to all our colleagues who are here today, as well as all the lovely women, little girls, and the boys have to say that you all were born after I came to Japan. So I'll start with my first talk. So I'm going to be talking about something which is, going backwards. So I'm going to talk about environmental factors, the immune nutrition. Immune is our immune system, the body. The immune system is what keeps us alive, what keeps us healthy. Damage to the immune system, like when the COVID happened, is what causes disease. Also, other diseases like diabetes or asthma or cardiovascular disease, all are things which affect our immune system. So when we talk about the immune system, we've always heard about the genetics. You know that you inherited disease from your parents, from your grandparents. So, okay, they have diabetes, so I'm likely to have, they have hypertension. But more importantly, now we know that it's not just the genetics, but it's the exposome. What is exposome? Exposome is the environmental influences, which includes air pollution, which includes loss of biodiversity, which includes the diet we eat, which includes the other factors like urbanization, industrialization, lack of vitamin D, and as you see this pollution, and the fact that they influence the microbiome, which is what I will talk to you about in a few, going backwards. So when, as an example of allergic diseases, which is my specialty, I came here 35 years back, I'm an allergist by specialty, and allergy is the first manifestation of any non-communicable disease in the human being, because children have asthma, children have rhinitis, children have hay fever, children have eczema, and diabetes and obesity and all, they follow later on. So taking that as an example, what are the different things that actually affect it? One is epithelial barrier. What is epithelium? Like our skin, this is the epidermis. So you have epithelium in the nose, in the lung, in the brain, in the gut, everything. And when the gut epithelium is leaky, you have things like cholera, diarrhea. And even if you don't have diarrhea and cholera, if your gut epithelium leaks, you're losing important microbiota that keeps your body healthy and disease manifests. The other important thing is innate and adaptive immune response. I will come to that. The viruses and the exposomes, as I already mentioned, and allergens and pollutants, and metabolic pathways. So this is the bacteriophylla. Did you know that the human body has more microbiota than number of cells? There are 39 trillion microbiota in our human body. And they vary depending on where it is, whether it's in the brain or in the hair or in the nostril, in the lung, in the skin. Everywhere the number of microbiota and the type, the composition and the distribution vary. And they are affected by exposome, by environmental factors, by the food we eat, and the lifestyle we lead, the lack of exercise, all these different factors. So the metabolic and immune-mediated pathologies with inflammatory diseases are like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, cancer, which I forgot mentioning, autoimmunity and allergy. And do you know autoimmunity and allergy? Do you know who got the Nobel Prize this year from one of the Nobel Prize, Medicine and Physiology? There are 3 people, 1 woman and 2 men. And one of the men is one of our mentors, Shimon Sakaguchi. He got the Nobel Prize for T regulatory cells because it's the T regulatory cells that actually protect us from getting autoimmune and allergic disease. Then obesity, insulin resistance, neurodegenerative diseases, metabolic disorders. These are all caused by this kind of a metabolic syndrome. Microbial diets. This is again what I'm saying. Like farm life, when people lived in the farm, you stay with the cattle, drinking raw milk and not pasteurized milk, there were less allergies, there were less NCDs. Today we see there's a sharp rise of asthma, the sharp rise of obesity. India is a capital for diabetes, for example. All these are increasing. Why? Because of the impact on the exposome. So that's very crucial, and this is what it shows. and the possible protective mechanism of microbial exposure in rural or farm life, as I mentioned, is like here. It's a little bit technical, but you have, this is the antigen presenting cell, which presents the antigen to the naive T cell. This is the Th2 cell, which is active in allergy, which interacts with the B lymphocyte. These are lymphocytes, and they release IL-4, IL-13, and there is allergic inflammation. And you can see here, Ig is produced. How do you, when you block this, you get the Treg cell. This Treg cell and the IL-10 and TGF-beta are crucial. So for example, when you have hay fever, you do immunotherapy, like sublingual immunotherapy, for example. What does it do? It actually blocks this, and IgE is not produced. Instead, the Treg cells, the IL-10 and TGF-beta are increased, and it changes the body's reaction to the same allergen, even if you're exposed to it. And they're trying the same thing for food allergies, like milk, egg, peanuts. That's also undergoing many trials. And so this is what the situation is. In the generation before, there was a vertical transmission of the microbiota, horizontal transmission, and there was a strong adaptive immunity and a mature adaptive immune response. But if you see now what happens, there is depleted microbiota because of the impact on the exposome. And there is an altered maturity of the adaptive immunity and increased incidence of autoimmune and inflammatory disease. Now, also things like COVID. Why do these pandemics occur? Why do these zoonotic diseases? Because the viruses become more virulent, and that is because of reduced biodiversity as one of the causes. And one of the causes is because lack of One Health, which I'll come to you later, means that the human health is not dependent only on human beings, but it depends on the plants, the animals, and the environment that we live in. And this is the influence of the microbiome in early life. You can see antibiotics, when they are given profusely, what happens? You can see over here that there is a reduction in the microbiota in the early years of life because of antibiotics. I don't know why is the slide not moving? Okay, this is again the same thing you can see. Now, here you can see, let me go back to the previous slide. So this is the C-section. You know, C-section is cesarean section. Sometimes it is indicated, sometimes it is done without indication also. So it is very important that this is one of the causes for alteration in the microbiota. And then when you go to the antibiotic use, you can see here, excess use of antibiotic, early antibiotic exposure in the first 6 to 12 months. And we have done a birth cohort also here for 3-year birth cohort, and we show that there is those that are exposed to antibiotics in early life have a disruption of their microbiota, the healthy microbiota, so you have more likely to develop disease. And this is that, the one done in our work. You can see that the significant OTU, that is the number of the microbiota, and the diversity are not only related to the development of allergies, but also to the severity of allergies. So unusual use or unindicated use of antibiotics are not recommended. Again, you have preterm. What is preterm? When a child is born before the full term, and that happens often. So preterm, their gut is not yet mature, and the microbiota actually develops in the mother's womb. So maternal nutrition is also very important. I'll come to that also. And you can see here that in the preterm gut, there is a reduction in the bifidobacteria and the bacteroids, and these are the healthy bacteria. I mean, bacteria means microbiota, not the bacteria that you find outside that is harmful. These microbiota actually protect the human body, and in the first 3 years of life is the most important time the immune system is developing. So the first 3 years of life and the first 100 days are most important. So if at that time there are these kind of issues, then this can program the body already of the child to develop disease in the future. So this is very, very important. So what happens here is Yeah, so here you can see this summarizing just that in this study we found that even though at 3 years we did not find a significant reaction, but when we followed them by 7 years, we found that several of the children who actually were had the preterm delivery and birth, they were developing allergic diseases. And then I don't know. Oh, why is this going? Yeah, and this is again showing the different type. Actually, butyrate. Butyrate is you can see here that this is controls. This is those children who have food allergies, like as I mentioned, and this is those who have rhinitis and asthma, respiratory allergies. You can see that the butyrate is reduced in those who have allergies, and if they have both food allergy and respiratory allergies, further reduced. So this is very important when we also come to the fact of diet diversity. This is early diet. Now, very often, mothers who don't know will say, oh, I have soba allergy, so I'm not going to give my kid soba. I don't want to give this egg so early in life. I don't want to. So they stop. Oh, peanut causes allergy, so let's not give peanut. So that kind of unindicated prevention of exposure to the food leads to, again, increased allergic or atopic sensitization. So you can see the diet in early life, a good variety, a good diet diversity increases the butyrate, and it reduces asthma, reduces food allergies, and it reduces atopic sensitization. And this is again the same, another study showing how after 6 months that if you actually have a food diversity, the increased food diversity that reduce the number of foods at 6 months, number of food allergens at 12 months, again, increased reduction in the food diversity causes increased development of allergic diseases. And like I said, allergic disease is just the first manifestation. So these children are likely to also develop other diseases like diabetes, obesity, and other non-communicable diseases. And this was a very important study done during the COVID, where they actually took, because to study the microbiota, you have to collect fecal samples. And it's in the fecal samples, especially very, like here, in our study also, we sent the samples to RIKEN. So it's a collaboration with RIKEN, and then they have the sequencing system to actually analyze it. And then we also, in this study, they did online questionnaire and skin prick testing, basically to see the allergies. And what you can see here is, I'll just summarize the results, that the relative abundance of bifidobacteria was higher, while environmentally transmitted bacteria such as Clostridia was lower in the COVID time. Why? Because they were not exposed to the environmental insults. People were all isolating at home. That doesn't mean that you have to isolate at home. It's just a study to show what environmental influences cause to the human body and disease. And this is, again, another important thing, breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is so important because the oligosaccharides from the breast, actually, they increase the production of bifidobacterium and bacteroids. And very often, that's a big thing. People say, okay, no, I'm working, I don't want to breastfeed my child, I don't want to do it. And these are very wrong indications. Weaning is okay by introducing new foods, but continuing the breastfeeding for at least the first 6 months, as the World Health Organization says, is very, very important. And you can see here that the pace microbiome development is low in case of if you stop, whereas if you there's an increased microbiome development if the child is breastfed. This is again epicutaneous sensitization. Did you know that you can get food allergies even through skin sensitization? Why? Because your as I mentioned, the epithelial barrier, if that is disrupted, like in children who have eczema, the first thing we do is try to treat the eczema, because if you don't treat the eczema, most likely the child will develop some kind of food allergies. So the barrier integrity is very, very important, and epithelial barrier integrity can be disrupted by so many things, microplastic, nanoplastics, so many things that we have in the environment, the different sprays that we use for cleaning. These are many, many things, and there is science has shown it, that epithelial barrier disruption can cause this kind of thing. And then if you just want to summarize what gut microbiota, how important it is to human health and aging, it's real because these pathways involve the microbial metabolites like short chain fatty acids, branch chain amino acids, and peptidoglycans. I know some of this is a little bit difficult for you to understand, but it's worth reading it. I think you should read about it, and it's very important that the gut microbiota actually controls human health in many ways and aging. So making a healthy gut microbiota helps prevent diseases and also reverse diseases. And what are the different potential interventions? I'm not going to go into details, but you must have heard about probiotics. You must have heard about prebiotics, dietary approaches, breastfeeding. There are many, many things. So many things in the market, but all these need to be studied well. And each strain of probiotic or prebiotic need to be studied and proven to be effective before we can be applied in clinical practice. I don't know what's... So the take-home message of this part is like what I want to say is the gut microbiota is a diverse and complex microsystem. It stabilizes by the age of 3. Dysbiosis is when the gut microbiota is not in harmony. Homeostasis is when it is in harmony. It's linked to allergic disease and many other long-term implications of chronic non-communicable diseases, and potential interventions, of course, need to be studied further. And then I'll take you through a summarization of what. So the diet, what we take, as I mentioned, the microbiome, as I said, and the epithelial barrier are all key regulators of the crosstalk that ensures that the immune system adapts to the challenges by establishing, maintaining, and regulating an appropriate immune system. So there are genetics, epigenetics, lifestyle, like exercise, smoking, drugs, medicines, diet, and I'll come to that about ultra-processed foods, local systemic Treg induction, which is, as I mentioned, is very, very important. Low and controlled Th1, Th2 responses, environmental influences, as I already mentioned, so it's just re-shown here, and a healthy host and healthy barriers, healthy microbiome. For this, these kind of things need to be education of the immune system, inhibition of local and systemic inflammatory, homeostasis of epithelial barriers, and inhibition of pathogenic microorganisms. And this is just a paper we recently published, again talking about the same thing, about the epithelial barrier theory, about the diet diversity, and how the ultra-processed foods can actually cause an imbalance in the immune nutrition. And the other aspect is urban greening. Did you know that when you build cities, urban planners should think of health? We know that architects now take into consideration eco-friendly buildings. Similarly, urban planners need to actually think of how they should plan a city. So this is one of the publications where we showed that, for example, pollinosis is a big problem here. Cedar pollen, for example. So in contrast, the conventional way, using insect-pollinated plants, cultivating multi-species plant communities, and minimal maintenance supports, as well as balancing plant gender ratios in urban spaces are ways to reduce this problem of non-communicable diseases and improve or balance the health and environmental sustainability, because sustainability is needed in everywhere, in schools, in colleges, in hospitals, in wherever we are, right here. Sustainability is so important for health. Whatever profession you are, whether you are doing sustainability is crucial. I'm sorry, this. And what does the other last point I would just focus a little bit on is the impact of climate change. You know what's happening with the temperatures warming, global this thing, and wildfires and glaciers melting. So this is all climate change. And why is climate change? It's human induced also. Low biodiversity, microplastics, how we dispose, not proper disposal of garbage, so many things like that, you know. And then there is always the issue that you have the rich countries and the poor countries. And the poor countries, they cannot afford to have these kind of sophisticated. So the impact on the respiratory system, it can cause asthma and allergies, it can cause COPD. Again, as I mentioned already, that it can cause increased vector-borne diseases like COVID. This is one of the main causes of things. Mental health, everybody forgets about it. Mental health is so crucial, not only in adults and elderly, but also in children. I think it's very, very important. Cardiovascular system and immunity and allergy. So all these are affected by climate change. So addressing climate change and looking at how we can change it or at least revert it a bit is crucial. And this is the One Health. What is One Health? Did you ever hear about One Health? Anyone? So One Health is part of G20. In India's G20, I was part of the G20 in the policy. We brought in One Health as a way to mitigate climate mitigation through One Health. One Health is the concept, emphasizes the interconnectedness of human, animal, and environmental health. So the animal health is important, the environmental health is important, and all these things together is addressing. So there is a big consortium now with organizations like the World Health Organization, the World Animal Things, so many things. And India has already programs on One Health actually trying to address climate mitigation. So when you talk about sustainability or any of your projects that are dealing with that, remember that climate health is, One Health is very important, and digital health plays an important part in implementing it. And this is the G20 leaders declaration, strengthening global health and implementing One Health approach and mainstream lifestyles for sustainable development. Because the term lifestyle diseases is exactly what I just spoke to you about. These are all lifestyle diseases. And in G16, our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, proposed the concept of lifespan. And now you know that we also call it health span. So a healthy, it's not about just living number of years, but living a healthy life. And for that, this combination of One Health is very important. So this strengthening global health through this One Health approach. And this is a publication that we have published as part of the G20, T2023, where I was the co-chair of it. And it's available as in Springer. It has been sent to all the different governments for of the G20 nations for implementation. So the key messages out of this part is that climate change and health, as I already mentioned, plastic pollution, all these exacerbate the NCDs, but it's not only air pollution. You need clean water and sanitation, food security and nutrition, especially in low income countries. The quality of the food products are also a problem. Then pesticides, they are so harmful. They are actually causing main cause of cancer. So these kind of things need to be taken together. Biodiversity, sustainable urban development, health equity means everybody should have access to health, a good health. It should not be that people can't afford it. So the health equity is important. Integrated policies needing governance, global public awareness and education, innovative solutions and technology through AI and digital technology, which is also part of India's G20 declaration, New Delhi declaration, and global collaboration, not only among policymakers, but economists, doctors, urban planners, architects, engineers, software, AI, all the people have to come together to actually make this a possibility. And finally, I'm just showing you 2 slides of my work as a fellow. When I started working, People ask, why should a clinician, medical doctor do science? You should be just treating patients. But that's not true. Because we see the patients. When we see the patients, the different responses from the patient pose a question to us. That question becomes a research hypothesis. Then you make that research hypothesis into a research project, make a methodology. You may fail many times. But at the end of that, you come with novel results, like what Professor Sakaguchi's group has done for Treg cells, like what my mentor, Tomio Tada, the late Tomio Tada, had discovered suppressor T cell, which was also one of the predecessor to Treg cells, and he was also nominated for Nobel, but he passed away much before he could get it. So those kind of, so it's so important as a clinical doctor to do science so that you can understand. And when you get the results of that, and it's not results of one single department or just a group of people, but many groups of people are working together in isolated or in collaboration. And then when you get the results of that, for example, in this, we showed that mast cells are capable of producing many Th2 type of cytokines, which was not known before 1992. It was not known. But our group, the Harvard group, the Johns Hopkins group, the Southampton group showed it. And today, we have Dupixent, which is used for atopic dermatitis, for severe asthma. It's a biologic that actually targets the IL-4 receptor. So what we posed as got a question from the patient, research developed into something that then could be given back to the patient as a treatment for their disease. That's why science is so important. And this is what I was trying to show you. You can see here the IL-4 and the mast cell, and it's not easy. This kind of research requires a lot of. I can tell you, I used to go to the hospital at 7:30 in the morning, do my clinical work till about 6, and from 6:30 in the evening till 3 a.m., I was doing my lab work for 4.5 years during my doctorate. But it served well, not because of the positions I have or the awards or the recognition, but the results of what we did and the number of fellows or the young people we could actually mentor who today are leaders in their own capacity. So, my final message to you is that science and medicine. Now, science can be any branch of science. Like all of you are interested in engineering or architects or other branch of science, knows no barriers, no country, and no language. They are universal tools for the benefit of humankind, meant to be accessible to everyone, both men and women. As a women physician scientist, along with my colleagues, we have all had our journeys wanting to be part of that science and medicine. We were curious, we were enthusiastic, but we did not see the glass ceiling as we grew up. But we have witnessed it in our careers and those others. I was brought up with the sense of gender parity. In my family, there are many women first, including my great-grand-aunt, who was the first woman lady surgeon of India, or my aunt, who was actually the first lady mayor. So we were never told that as a woman you couldn't do it. So that was crucial. But there is a value for excellence. There is no compensation for excellence. Hard work and excellence are crucial. I was interested in biology and I was keen to help the sick. So my sole dream was to be a medical doctor. I joined Armed Forces Medical College. I finished my post-graduation from BJ. And here I was fortunate to be working on airway T cells and mast cells in Tomio Tada's and Ko Kumura's lab. And my PhD dissertation was on phenotyping, as I just showed you, gamma delta T cells, which was also just discovered in 1986 by Susumu Tonegawa, and we published it in 1992. And of course, we defined the role of mast cells in airway allergic disease, which is the basis of successful biological therapeutics, which is also published by other people. So it's not only my work, so I'm not trying to say. While I had supportive mentors, friends, and a very, very supportive husband, I faced many challenges as a woman. And in 2012, when I became the first woman president of the World Allergy Organization in 75 years, an Indian, a female, working in Japan as the first woman president. And it's not by solicitation yourself. You are nominated and elected beyond your control. So it was a very big honor. But that was the time I was dealing with the loss of my very young husband, who was a professor at Sophia University. So I converted my grief into resilience, and I decided that what I should do is try to bring up many, many people, men and women, boys and girls, to be good researchers, good scientists, good clinician scientists. Because we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. You know who said this? Winston Churchill. And then finally, and lastly, I just show you some pictures. This is my Tomio Tada. This is Ikura, also one of my pediatric mentors. This is Ko Okumura. This is the discoverer for mast cells. I'm just forgetting. This is Ishizaka. Kimishige Ishizaka is the person who, with his wife and Gunnar Johansson, discovered IgE, immunoglobulin IgE. That is the basis for allergy and many other diseases. And this is the first Congress I held in Japan in 2001. So these are all the faculty members there. This is me as president of the World Allergy Organization with my board. This is me as part of G20 Empower as the part of the women in STEM. And this is the G20 T20 on climate change, lifestyle, and wellness. So the document on climate change. And this is the story of 4 women. She's from Harvard, she's from Stanford, she's from Switzerland, and this is me. And we all had difficult journeys, but nobody gave up. Because what we said is, as I will show you in the next one, and this is just a write-up that came up in the newspaper when I became the president of the World Allergy Organization. These are just some shots. This is me receiving the Prawahi. This is my beloved husband. This is when we did the Congress in Bombay and President Kalam was inaugurating it. This is me speaking at the UN. This is with Margaret Chan and WHO. And this is when I was awarded the FRCP. These are my fellows. My fellow receiving an award at the Congress. This is me giving, sorry, I look much healthier there. I changed my lifestyle, so I was able to change the influence of exposome. So I leave you with a last message. And this is, of course, very honored to have Prime Minister Modi ji. When he visited Japan, he wanted to meet the Pravasi awardees. And there are other Pravasi awardees. I'm not the only one. And we had the opportunity to talk to him. And I must say that there were a few things I had mentioned to him, which he was very quick in implementing. And it was such an honor to have had that opportunity. So my take-home message, you can forget everything else, but remember this. Be inspired by good mentors. Mentor those who are younger than you. Integrate and motivate them. Be open to others' perspectives. Don't have a closed mind. And divergent views. Be curious. Always ask questions. Be consistent. Be patient and perseverant. Where there is no path, create one. Engage, participate, and prioritize. Do not be disillusioned by failure because it's the first step to success. Just do it. And like our ambassador said, nobody can tell you. There should be no naysayers that you as a woman cannot do science. Because this is gender parity. Everything depends on your hard work, your excellence. Everybody is capable. Just do it. Believe in yourself, do hard work, and you will see the results. Thank you very much for being patient, listening to my long talk.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bhaunter. Next, I invite Dr. Renu Wadhwa, Japan Advanced Institute of Industrial Science and Technology, to present on ashwagandha.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Panwar and the organizing team for continuing having me here on the Science Day. Congratulations to you all. I think I did address the students last years as well, and it is my honor to be here with you today. So today, I hope this one works. Yes. So today I'm going to tell you about my journey on developing or hoping to develop a cancer drug from a plant called ashwagandha. Everybody knows about ashwagandha. It's an Ayurvedic plant and we heavily use it in India as an Ayurvedic herb. So I'm going to take you to that, my own experience, my journey, and in some way I believe that's my achievement too. Before I do that, I have to tell you that I belong to AIST, the largest government institution in Japan, the multidisciplinary, with 12 bases in Japan, and we are based in Tsukuba, and this has 7 domains. Life science is one of them, and my lab is called AIST India Dye Lab. So having named India in the laboratory is unique. That's a singular example. And there is a history, there is an achievement in that part of the chapter too. I'm not going to describe that today and rather focus on my science journey. So my lab for last 36 years, that's a time I have lived in Japan already, has been working on biology and intervention for aging, stress, and cancer and neurodegeneration. I'm sure you know all these words by heart, right? We all age, we all have stress, everybody has stress of some kind or the other. And we know that stress is not a disease, right? We don't consider stress as a disease, rather mild stress can be good for you. But the important is not let stress raise to the levels when it starts connecting to the diseases. And cancer is one of them. Neurodegeneration, the old age brain diseases are the other ones. So I have to raise my hand and get help in moving my slides. So stress is okay. And we know that it can affect any part of your body. But remember, most critical is when it affects you in a way that your normal cells who are supposed to stop dividing, they forget to do that. They keep on dividing, and that's what cancer is. So in my lab and in several labs throughout the world, it has been established today that there is a very tight link between stress and cancer. There are certain levels of stress when it goes beyond a threshold, it connects to cancer, and it could be any kind of cancer too. So using cells is a very powerful system, is a very powerful approach in understanding stress, aging, and cancer also, and also intervene these phenotypes or go to the path of drug development. My lab has been doing that for last 36 years, and we have been able to develop, or we have to able to clone these 2 new proteins called CAF and Mortlin. That was given birth in my lab. And we have understood from last 36 years of research that both of these proteins are connected to stress in the regulation of stress and cancer. So there is a reason to take these as a target to making drug for treating cancer, right? So we started doing that early on. And just to remember, what is the difference between having a drug development track and having a medicinal herb or nutraceutical as a drug? Of course, on this side is a drug development. You know that takes some billions of dollars. Safety issues have to be tested, efficacy. There's a documentation that might kill you before you actually do the drug development, and there's a mechanism. So, and the nutraceuticals, these are the factors, these are the things that you're eating every day. And if you can establish that your nutraceuticals have the effect, just like your medicine or drug, that's what you want, right? You want to use your food as medicine, but not develop medicine that can be taken as food. So, for these reasons, we started doing in the lab interventional biology. Several herbs were tested. Ashwagandha stood out, and we've been working for this for last nearly 25 years. So I'm going to explain to you how the basic science done in my lab on ashwagandha herb is now through the drug development FDA clinical trial, right? So one of the first findings in my lab was we found that the ashwagandha leaf extract can kill cancer cells, but the normal cells are not affected. This is called selective killing capacity of ashwagandha leaf for cancer. And this translated well in the mouse model system. You see the tumors are this big on day 12 when they were not treated. And if they were either orally fed with the extract we made or locally injected, the tumors progressed very, very slowly. So this was very convincing, and we have spent nearly 20 years understanding what is it in the extract that works as an anti-cancer drug. And then if that's the one we know already, what is the mechanism it does so? So there are about 60, 70 publications. There are books we have written describing these mechanisms, convincingly telling, yes, there is an anti-cancer activity in ashwagandha leaves, and there are components that I am going to explain now on. Vidafrin A is a lactone steroid which is in the ashwagandha that works as a very strong anti-cancer drug. Now, Vidanone is also anti-cancer activity, but it is milder. On the other hand, it is selective for cancer cells. The combination of Vidafrin A and Vidanone in the form of extract works as selective cancer killing activity. So all these papers have been published. There are 2 books we have written on what science results we have got in our hands. And we've also published extensively that there are a variety of extracts can be made. For example, we started with the alcoholic extract, then we moved to the water extract. So these extract types, they have the different components, different active ingredients. They work by different mechanisms, but the important is to understand what's the mechanism and then apply all of them together for killing cancer cells. You all probably know that cancer is a not single mechanism disease. It's a multiple factors. So that's what we did, and we understood from our 20 years of research, yes, there is an anti-cancer, very strong ingredient called Vidafrin A, but it does kill normal cells too. So it has a side effect. That's what you always have as a chemotherapy, right? Your cancer drug will kill normal cells too. Now, Vidanone is there, which protects your normal cells from the killing effect of Vidafrin A. And there is another component called beta-methoxyvidafrin A, a modified version of Vidafrin A, which doesn't have a cancer killing capacity, but it is totally anti-stress. So just a little bit of data telling you this. Focus on the black bars and the gray bars. You see Vidafrin A here is killing cells. Beta-methoxy is not. Here, if you have stressed the cells by a variety of ways, by oxidative stress, by UV, by chemicals, you see with Vidafrin A, the cells are going down, and in each of these, beta-methoxy here, 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 and here is actually protecting your cells against stress. So what I'm saying is that ashwagandha leaf extract has the anti-cancer activity, plus it has the anti-stress activity. So when you use this extract in comparison to a single component which will kill your cancer cells, you have more chances that you're safer. Your normal cells will not be hit. So at that time, we were discovering all these mechanisms and the chemotyping of ashwagandha leaf extracts. We had also developed another program in the lab, putting the cells in 3 kinds of stresses, for example, oxidative, Madel, and hypoxia, and aim to select for the compounds which would protect your cells against all the 3. And what we found, very surprisingly and very happy, that the ashwagandha component stood on the top. So we were, doubly confident, very pleased to continue this research. This is one example for the anti-stress activity. Stress can actually cause you premature aging. This is a chemical model. MAA is a compound that you can use for prematurely kill your cells or age your cells in culture. There is less number here. If you have Vidhanone from ashwagandha, cell number is better. The staining is less, which is an aging marker. This is a DNA damage marker, then oxidative marker. You can see the markers are improved when the cells are treated with ashwagandha Vidhanone. Here you have oxidative stress, and the cells now treated with Vidhanone. They are better here with UV. They are better here with Vidhanone. Cells live longer as compared to control. They are aging slowly when they are fed with Vidhanone. Now, what I have told you is ashwagandha leaf extract that we have in hand has a power to treat cancer, has a power to put, as an anti-stress component as well. And we also published, it's called anti-COVID activity, which I'm not showing you today. So all this science was published in number of papers and books. And then back of your mind is the innovation. You want to make a drug, a safer drug for the cancer patients. And what we have known so far is these components. For example, I repeat, Vidafrin A is anti-cancer, but it is not anti-stress. Beta-methoxy Vidafrin A is anti-stress, and Vidhanone is moderately anti-cancer, and it is anti-stress. So we knew from the basic science results that we need to create extracts with these specific activities. If you want to use your extract for cancer treatment, you need to have Vidafrin A. If you want to use it for quality of life, for stress intervention, you need to have Vidhanone, or you need to have beta-methoxy Vidhanone. So we did that by making extraction, by taking the technology, this nanotechnology called cyclodextrins, which are circular, polymers of glucose, have this hole in the middle that can encapsulate your active ingredients. Using cyclodextrin, we created a variety of extract in which we were able to fractionate Vidafrin A and Vidhanone. We were able to get Vidafrin A rich extracts. We were able to get Vidhanone rich extract. We were able to get beta-methoxy Vidafrin A extract. And that technology is our power now. That is patented in Japan, in US. That was licensed based on this technology. We founded a venture in AST. Slide isn't moving forward. Yeah. So we made this AST venture called Tech, and Caltech, in collaboration with Reheva Biosciences in the US, have successfully conducted clinical phase 1 trial for the lung cancer patients. It's been successful. It's taken about 7 years and about $10 million. So that's the difference between doing basic science, being funded, and do innovation and drug development line. So that's a paper which is just come last month, actually February or March. So you are welcome to read the detailed research on the patient responses on the ashwagandha leaf extract. And I'm going to leave you here showing you my thanks slide that goes to all the students. And okay, sorry, before that, we are continuing to make ashwagandha plants which are naturally enriched with the particular components, either in the field in collaboration with the universities in India, or also in aquaponics. In this, I was hoping to show you this, video where you actually see the plants coming out of these aquatic holes in 4 weeks' time. But unfortunately, this is PDF being run, so I can't show you the video. And I think my last slide is my acknowledgement, and this is the books we have published on ashwagandha. Yes, so sorry. So that's the large number of students from India came to lab under different programs, including Sakura Science and several others. We were very generously funded by Department of Technology, DBT, Government of India, for several years, actually for 10 years, along with AST budget. And that's why we are called AST India Dye Lab. And I'm proud to be the mother of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wadhwa. May I now invite Dr. Aya Okada, Professor of Nagoya University, to speak on research on gender equality promotion in India's higher education, particularly STEM.
Her Excellency Nagma Mohammed Malik, Ambassador of India to Japan, who may not be here at the moment, Mr. Tomoaki, Honorable Mr. Tomoaki Shimada, who is Parliamentary Vice Minister from MOFA, Minister of Foreign Affairs, distinguished guests, colleagues, and students. Namaskar. Good afternoon. I'm Aya Okada. Thank you, Dr. Panwa, for inviting me to this great opportunity. Okay. It is truly my great honor and privilege to speak on this special occasion of the grand finale of the India-Japan Year of Science, Technology, and Innovation exchange 2025-2026. Actually, I have a long association with India, as I worked as a UNICEF staff member in Lucknow, in Uttar Pradesh, in the early 90s. And my PhD dissertation was on industrial skills development in the Indian automobile industry, which I carried out in the early 90s. For over 30 years, I have been frequently visiting India for my research, academic conferences, and other exchange activities. First of all, I wish you all a happy National Science Day. I'm very impressed that this year's NSD title theme is Women in Science. So I put this image. Do you recognize? Yes, the movie Mission Mangal, which is one of my favorite Indian films. And it actually is very, okay. So it's actually very relevant because Ambassador Malik and others mentioned the joint collaboration between India and Japan, between ISRO, India Space Science Organization, and JAXA, because the movie I mentioned is, can you move back? Yes, the movie Mission Mangal is based on the true story of female scientists who played a leading role in developing and launching the Mars Orbiter Mission called MOM. So Mangalyaan project was based on the real story. And it's very nice to hear that the now new project is emerging with the collaboration with JAXA. So let me, okay. Okay, so here's the outline, thank you. Here is the outline of my talk. Let me briefly explain. Okay, so at Nagoya University, where I have been working, I have been deeply involved in the promotion of gender equality inside and outside the campus for over the last 10 years. As Nagoya University was selected as one of the University Impact Champions by UN Women as to showcase the efforts to promote gender equality through he-for-she initiatives. So here are, these are 10 he-for-she impact champion universities. Nagoya University was selected as the only Japanese university, only from Japan and 2 from Asia. So we are very honored. You can recognize Emma Watson, who is a movie star. She served as the ambassador for he-for-she. And so President of Nagoya University and myself have been visiting New York to attend he-for-she summit and other he-for-she related events. And we discussed strategies for promoting gender equality, including in STEM fields. We organized many activities, many seminars and conferences. This is one of the events that we held at Nagoya University with the presence of a message from late Prime Minister Abe, who was also selected as one of the state impact champions, and also then Ambassador Caroline Kennedy of the US ambassador. We organized many events to engage our students into he-for-she related activities. This is one of the events to advocate the prevention of the gender-based violence. This is another international conference which we held at Nagoya University, inviting other impact champion representatives and other representatives from UN Women and the government. Also, I had a privilege to help the Embassy of India and JST jointly organize an event on March 8th, 2021 to celebrate the International Women's Day by showcasing the experiences of female successful scientists and engineers from various fields, including Dr. Anuradha TK from ISRO, India Science Space Research Organization in Bengaluru. I believe she was one of the models of the characters of the Mission Mangal I mentioned earlier. In my research, actually, I'm a social scientist, not scientist, natural scientist. But I have been engaged in this research project with the support from JSPS, Japan Society for the Promotion of Science. I have just started a new research project, in fact, on gender equality, explaining how India managed to reduce gender inequality in the higher education sector in India. So this event is very relevant, and I would like to tell you why I'm so interested in India case. You may recognize, as you know, the World Economic Forum, which organizes Davos conference every year, publishes the Global Gender Gap Report. This is from the latest version of the Global Gender Gap Report. As you can see, both Japan and India are not so impressive, right? Out of 148 countries, Japan ranks at 118, and India ranks at 31st. Very unfortunate, but I'm telling you, the story is not so simple. Okay, so this is the occupational category, where women workers work, in terms of two-digit occupational category among OECD and EU countries. So basically, among developed countries, the situation is actually similar to us, our cases. The science and engineer professionals and also science and engineering associate professionals are much lower compared to other sectors. So significantly, even among developed countries, OECD countries, there's a underrepresentation of women in science and engineering fields. So let's zero in on India and Japan. Actually, this global gender gap report has 4 dimensions. So each score is different. As you see, you can find that the scores and the rankings for each dimension. But if you focus on education sector, education is one of the 4 dimensions. India is doing very well, number 1, in terms of the secondary enrollment and tertiary enrollment, which is very impressive. Japan, let's look at Japan. Japan, in terms of secondary enrollment, it's number 1, but for tertiary enrollment, it is still 112th. So I'm telling you why that is the case. This is the figure from National Association of National Universities of Japan. So it shows the trends in the representation of women among national universities in Japan. The highest the graph line is undergraduates. So female representation is 38.1%. Whereas, Okay, so in terms of faculty, it is much lower. According to the latest figure, which is 2021, female faculty accounts for 18.3%, which is much lower. And if you look at closely, as you can see, particularly women are underrepresented in STEM fields, such as agriculture, 13.4%, science, 10%, engineering, just 7.7%, single digit. So you can find that underrepresentation is very serious. The right figure shows, unfortunately, this is in Japanese, but the lowest the lines indicate the science, engineering, and agriculture. So these are very, although there have been improvement, but it's still a long way to go before achieving gender parity. International, this is an international comparison. Unfortunately, Japan, the performance of Japan is the lowest among OECD countries. The right bar, which is about 7% out. This shows share of female and female students enrolled in STEM among women enrolled in all undergraduate programs across OECD countries. So that gender inequality is still very serious. In contrast, India is doing much better. than Japan in promoting gender equality in higher education. The right figure shows master's program. Now, as you can see, in terms of science, female students outnumbers male students. And technology is underrepresented. But if you look at all distribution of different levels, you can see that it's close to gender parity. Now, this is India has achieved gender parity in science at all levels of higher education. This is showing science field. So in terms of undergraduate, postgraduate, PhD, and MPhil, in all 4 categories, female students, we have more female students than male students. That's wonderful. So I hope you'll be one of those who will be contributing to the science in future too. So India is closing gender gaps in total enrollment at higher education among various social groups as well. Scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward categories, OBC categories, among Muslims, and also other categories. So it's wonderful, remarkable situation. In fact, share of female STEM graduates, this is the international comparison of STEM graduates, female STEM graduates. India has the highest share among South, Central and Southern Asia, and it's close to parity. How about Japan? What about Japan? Well, before that, I like to show. Also, in Tibet, technical vocational education and training sector, female students are doing well because of the quota allocated to the entrance, the admission of Tibet sector through ITI, Industrial Training Institute. These are the photos taken during my field visit to ITIs in various states. Now coming back to Japan. Once again, Japan is kind of sad situation. Japan shows the lowest share of female graduates in STEM, just 18%, which is the lowest among OECD and EU countries, as you can see. So this is share of women among researchers. Once again, it's a similar situation. Unfortunately, I couldn't find India's data on this, but Japan is the 4th from the bottom among Asian countries. Now, why women are underrepresented? Internationally, this is the result of tests in terms of reading skills and mathematical tests. And you can see that, there are some countries where the female students are doing better, more and better in mathematics, while other countries, these countries have more students who have, girls outperformance boys in mathematics, whereas these countries, boys are performing better than girls. But many countries, it is parity, meaning that there's no difference between boys and girls in terms of performance of mathematics, which means that the performance depends on gender, but the male and female differences, but it is environmentally or policy-induced phenomena. And I believe that we can change the situation among these countries too, including Japan. Okay. So I try to find what may explain the reasons why India has achieved remarkable progress in achieving gender parity. And Department of Science and Technology of the Government of India has done a lot. These are some of the examples of the policies and programs implemented by the Department of Science and Technology. And my new research, through my new research, I like to investigate how and to what extent these programs have worked. Perhaps Japan can learn a lot from India's experiences. Particularly, I'm interested in Gender Advancement for Transforming Institutions, GATI, which has 30 participating institutions. And I like to, through my research, I like to visit as many institutions as possible to find out what they have been doing to promote gender equality. Okay, so the reason why we need to promote collaboration, as Ambassador also mentioned, in terms of the number of PhD awardees, India ranks the third in terms of number of PhDs in science and engineering, following US and China. In Japan, the number is much, much fewer. And so through collaboration between India and Japan, I think there's room for more sort of, collaboration in terms of doctor programs, exchange among doctor students. Also, in terms of academic papers, science papers in science and engineering, as you can see, India has been, increasing a lot in terms of the number of scientific papers in science and engineering fields. Whereas Japan, it hasn't changed much. And India has already surpassed Japan in terms of number of scientific papers. So I believe it would be very important to encourage sort of joint collaboration, which may help both of us, both Japan and India. In terms of India's R&D spending as a share of GDP is still limited. So research partnership between India and Japan is a good fit for creating more knowledge and promoting innovation. As the ambassador also, Madam Ambassador mentioned, GST, Japan Science and Technology Agency, has been promoting academic exchange between India and Japan through various programs such as Sakura Science Exchange Programs, Indian University Student Invitation Program, and a Lotus. So more exchange between Japanese and Indian female students, although it's not excluding boy students, research in science and technology should be promoted and encouraged. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening, and happy National Science Day again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Okada. Next, I invite Dr. Madhu Biyani, Assistant Professor at Kanazawa University, to present her presentation.
So good afternoon, everybody. So thank you for inviting me here. So today I will talk about how the unreachable targets can turn into the new reality using our inbuilt technology, high-speed AFM. So before going to my research part, I would like to introduce myself. So I started my career journey in 2000 as a physician. And after come to the Japan, and I did my PhD in the Saitama University. Here I joined. So here I did my PhD from the Saitama University in 2011, and here we developed the general method for developing the biofunctional molecules for the uncurable diseases. And then I joined the Kanazawa University in 2020, and right now my research is focusing on the targeted therapy, and basically for the epigenetic proteins like ADAS, METAL3, and FTO, and also working on developing the drugs for the cancer stem cells. And here I integrating the nanoimaging technology that I said before, that high-speed AFM and high-speed AFM for to see the molecular interactions here. So this slide is showing the Kanazawa University. The Kanazawa University is located in the Kanazawa city, is Ishikawa Prefecture, and this place is a blend of nature, traditions, and the research. And the Kanazawa University comes under the top 20 universities in the Japan. And you can see this area is very famous for the gold leaf. You can find the edible gold ice cream here. You can also find the edible gold in the coffee also. And we are this university is recognized for the especially for the medicine and the science. And we are very honored to have the previous Chief Minister C.B. George ambassador visited the Kanazawa University in 2023. Please next. So in Japan, the WPI World Premier International Research Institute, WPI, a program has been launched by the MEX in 2007 as a cutting-edge technology centers in the Japan. Today, the 13 institute in the Japan, and I belongs to the Nano LSI, and this Nano LSI is launched in 2017. Next slide, please. Next slide. So as in Nano LSI, we have the motto, see small and think big. And as a scientist in the Nano LSI, we are exploring the uncharted nano world of the life sciences using the high-speed AFM and other bioscanning technology to understand the mechanism of the biology. Next slide, please. So now I come to my research part. Here we use the high-speed AFM to turn the undruggable targets for the new therapeutics. Next slide. So here you can see in the slide that the basic challenge of the drug discovery is how to reach the unmet therapeutic protein targets. Here you can see there is a small fraction of the drugs of the proteins that are have the druggable. 15% drugs protein are the druggable. Only 80 and the major portion, 85% of the human proteins are undruggable because these proteins have no lack of the hydrophobic pocket. They have no, they generally have the protein-protein interactions, and they don't have the 3D structures, and they also have the isoform or many family. They have the conservative surface, active surface. So there is a need to find the therapeutics for these undruggable targets. Next, please. So before going into the deep here, this is the fundamental molecular interactions mechanism, how the drugs interact with the proteins. Here you can see the first molecules find the large neuron interactions and then fit to the right spot here, and then lock to the protein surface to interact with the protein and change the biological functions. So now here I'm working on the undruggable protein that we call the ADAR, adenosine deaminase acting on RNA. So this protein is related to the cancer-specific protein, and that is overexpressed in the many tumors, and this also linked with the poor survival patients in the cancer patients. So this protein has a lot of value in the therapeutic target and the prognostic indicators for the various tumors. So this protein have two types of small molecule have been tested as ADAR inhibitors, but the problem is that these inhibitors are unsuccessful because of their poor selectivity, non-specific inhibitions to the other pathway in the cells, and they cause the toxicity. So we need to find out the inhibitors, how to inhibit these proteins, or how to find the inhibitors for this targeting these proteins. So here is the questions. Why has the ADAR remained challenging? So here we find out that many reasons here. So one of the most major concern is the structural dynamics. So ADAR is generally from the dimer for the RNA editing for its functions, and but the structural dynamics is still we don't know. So we use our technology, high-speed AFM. So here we explored how to challenge in the conformational dynamics of this ADAR. We integrated the high-speed AFM and the computational modeling to know the to handle the limitation structure of these proteins. So this is here we integrated our high-speed AFM technology and the computational modeling to resolve the protein structure at the molecular level and the atomic level. By strengthening these two combined technology, we can see the ADAR protein at real time and predict their behavior and simulate their conditions, and also analyze the structure complex at the nanoscale level. So here we actually this protein has no 3D structures. So we use the AlphaFold software, and here we generated the full proteins. However, this protein have the unstructured region. So we use the template model of another protein, that is ADAR2, that is the family member of ADAR1, and that is this 3D structure already known. So we refined our ADAR monomers using the template of the ADAR2, and we realized that this model can be used for the further structural analysis. So here we identify, after structural analysis, we identify the two interface region, X on the X region and the Y region, and we found these two regions are complementary in each monomers of the ADAR and can potentially form the dimer structures. And we propose the ADAR dimer model here based on our interface interactions. So here you can see the ADAR form asymmetrical dimer through the interaction between the X and Y interface region. And we also propose that ADAR protein not only form the dimer structure, it can form the trimer, tetramer, and this models supported by the other method that we call the homology modeling. So ADAR can make the polymer-like structures in our model structures. And later we observe this interaction using our high-speed FM technology. Here you can see the ADAR monomers can form the dimer, tetramer, trimer, and also make the tetramer structures, and they also can make the oligomer-like structure. So our high-speed FM imaging revealed that the ADAR molecules exist as the monomers, dimers, trimers, and tetramers on the mica surface. And then we validated the 3D models by simulating with the AFM images with the real high-speed AFM images. You can see here the 3D images, and this is the simulated images using our software, and this is the real high-speed AFM images. So here you can see the simulated AFM images correlated well with the experimental high-speed AFM images, and these images confirming the accuracy of our proposed 3D models. And then after that, we also followed the dynamics of the ADAR protein at a single molecular level. Here we found that these ADAR monomers can form the dimer, but here there is a flexible region here, that is the N-terminal domain, and these N-terminal domain first come close together, and then deaminase domain play the important role in the dimer formation. And then later we propose the dynamics of the dimerization based on our high-speed AFM and 3D modeling. Here we propose that the X and Y region, and these are the RNA binding domains. The first RNA binding domain interact each other, and when they form the dimerization, these X and Y region come close together and they form the stable dimerization. And later we also observed by the high-speed AFM ADAR dimerization with a substrate RNA. This is the substrate RNA, and here we found the ADAR from the stable dimer while binding to the double-strand RNA, and it scanned the RNA in a sliding motions. So these dynamics help prepare the ADAR dimer to efficiently engage its RNA substrate. So now conclude this study. We identify the dynamic features of the ADAR complex at the atomic and the molecular level, and we found that the N-terminal domains play the critical role in stabilizing the ADAR dimerization, and these deaminase domain interface play a critical role to regulate the ADAR functions. And we were very happy to share that we published our work in a very prestigious journal in the Nature Communication last year. And we also optimized that our future research based on these high-speed FM observation and the molecular 3D modeling, we can find out the new therapeutic strategy for disease linked to the abnormal RNA editing. And we hope we can target this undruggable protein in a druggable protein by using these technology. Thank you, that's all. And last, I would like to introduce our lab. And this is our lab. belongs to the Drug Metabolism and Toxicology Lab in Kanata Open University. And this research is done by the support with our collaborators. And also, I would like to thank to the funding agency, KIMHI and others. And I would like to thanks all of you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Biani. Now may I invite Dr. Kyoko Yamakoshi from Ochanomizu University to deliver her presentation.
Her Excellency Ambassador Malik, Deputy Chief of Mission, Mr. Sudan, Councillor Mr. Powell, and distinguished guests and students, it is my great honor to be given the opportunity to make a presentation today. My name is Kyoko Yamakoshi, and I serve as a Counselor for International Relations at Ochanomizu University. We recently started graduate student exchange program funded by the Japanese government called the Future with India program, and I'd like to introduce this wonderful program to all of you today. Before I explain the Future with India program, please allow me to briefly introduce Ochanomizu University. Ochanomizu University was established in 1875 by the Japanese government as the first institution of higher education for women in Japan. Originally founded as a women's higher normal school, it has since developed into the oldest women's comprehensive university in Japan, with a strong commitment to fostering women as global leaders. Next slide, please. We offer a full range of education from the undergraduate programs to the doctoral level graduate studies in science, engineering, and humanities. In addition, our affiliated kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, and high school are all located together on a single campus near Ikebukuro in Tokyo, creating a unique and close-knit environment that is seldom found at other universities. Currently, Ochanomizu University has established partnerships with 97 universities across 33 countries and regions. Every year, we welcome more than 350 international students. At present, we offer 3 programs that are conducted entirely in English, providing an international learning environment. The first one is our summer program, which has been offered for over 10 years. The summer program is held in July, comprising 2 weeks of online instruction, followed by 2 weeks of in-person sessions, and is open to both male and female students. It offers subject-based courses conducted in English, as well as Japanese language courses. Each year, the program attracts more than 50 students from diverse countries around the world. Last year, under another Japanese government-funded initiative, the EDI program, one of our students from Ochanomizu University, Ms. Hiro Chisaka, spent 1 semester at IIT Hyderabad conducting research on gender studies in India. Although she initially experienced some challenges adjusting to dormitory life, she was supported by distinguished faculty members and formed many meaningful friendships, and had a truly fulfilling and rewarding experience. Now I would like to introduce our new initiative, the Future with India program, funded by the Japanese government for 5 years. This program aims to develop global STEM leaders by promoting collaborative research in both India and Japan. It welcomes both male and female graduate students at the master's and doctoral levels from our partner institutions in India to Japan for a period of 5 months. The program includes internships in global companies in Tokyo in September, followed by collaborative research from October to January in laboratories at the Graduate School of Ochanomizu University and the Graduate School of Engineering at the University of Tokyo. In the box at the upper right, you will find the areas of specialization of the research laboratories at Ochanomizu University. As you can see, we have around 30 laboratories covering a wide range of scientific fields, particularly in chemistry, physics, biology, mathematics, and computer science. The box below shows the research fields of laboratories which students can join at the Graduate School of Engineering at the University of Tokyo. Our current partner institutions in India include IIT Hyderabad, PSGR Krishnama College for Women, IIT Delhi, and IIT Madras. Furthermore, we are planning to establish partnership with the University of Delhi and Mirand House during this year. We are also seeking to expand our partnerships with leading institutions in India, and we will be delighted to hear from you if you are interested. The schedule for the Future with India program is as follows. Applications are open from November to January, followed by laboratory matching in February and March. From April to August, selected students prepare for their travel from India and participate in online seminars. They arrive in Tokyo at the end of August and take part in internships at global companies in Tokyo in September. From October to January, during the fall semester, students engage in collaborative research in laboratories. Finally, before returning home in January, they present the result outcomes at the final symposium. In March, we had the honor of hosting the kickoff symposium for the Future with India program. We'd like to express our heartfelt appreciation to Mr. Madhu Suzang, Deputy Chief of Mission at the Embassy of India in Japan, for his keynote address. We were also privileged to welcome presidents, faculty members, and students from IIT Hyderabad, IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, PSGR Krishnama College, the University of Delhi, and Mirand House, who traveled to Ochanomizu University to present their institutions and research. The symposium was truly outstanding and marked a remarkable start to the program. With your invaluable support, we will do our utmost to make the Future with India program a great success. We kindly ask for your continued encouragement and generous support. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for this valuable opportunity to give this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yamakoshi. Next, I invite Dr. Anusuya from University of Tokyo to give her presentation.
Maybe the first slide, please. Yeah, so I think we are already very, very tired, right? And I will not take a lot of time. But I would like to thank Professor Shakti, especially because he only connected me to speak in this event. And what I would like to do, because there are more students rather than professors and postdocs and so on, I will dilute my research very, very basic level so that you understand what I am trying to do. Okay, and I think before I start, now everybody is, you know about AI, right? Machine learning and AI, and that is a buzz, right? That everybody is working on that. And what I would like to show is that how a very, very daily kind of observation can lead to very, very deep research, okay? That's my motivation. To do research for the last, I think, 5-6 years after my PhD. And what I would like to, if you see in the very, very left side, I think everybody, I think we encounter this kind of problem, right? like whenever we have tea or coffee or any juice, if it spills on your shirt or tablecloth or something, you do not like it, right? Nobody likes it because everybody has to clean it. But it is not that bad, okay? It contains a lot of information, and that information you can encode as a very, very useful way. And that is what my research all about. So as you can see from the title of my talk, is that whenever we have, like, let's say something is basically what I'm saying, drying is just evaporation of water, okay? And when you have some kind of patterns which are forming, how those patterns can be used as a screening tool, okay? So next slide, please. I think the hero of this slide is that you can just click so that all the content of the slide can come, so that yeah, I don't, so if you click on it, so it will yeah, because I want the text so that people can read. So can you click on the slide so that, yeah, more clicks so that all the text for this slide comes over. Yeah, more. I think 3 more lines should become yes, okay, just stop there. So if you do like that for all the slides from now onwards, that would be helpful. Okay, so I think what I'm trying to say is that drying droplet, and that is kind of a hero of this presentation. And how we do it is the very simple process. Okay, you just drop with some solution, and that solution can be anything. It can be something with some particles. Okay, and that something can be your water. It can be any solvent. Basically, it can be organic. It can be inorganic, something. And what we do, as you can see here, that is my own research on human blood. So if you just put a human blood or just a drop on the substrate and keep everything same, let's say the conditions of temperature and relative humidity and substrate condition, everything, then it let the drop dry. Okay, so then you will see a lot of interesting things are happening. I'm not going to that detail, but you can think of that during that, if it is in the, this kind of normal temperature, that will only take 5 minutes. Okay, and in that 5 minutes, if you take the pictures, you will see that a lot of things are changing, right? It is having some dark gray, and then it is forming some kind of cracks. You can think of that as some mud cracks, like when there is no rain and then you have mud. There are a lot of stress, mechanical stress develop, and that gives rise to mud cracks, right? It's the same phenomena working here, because you are having a droplet that is not actually changing the size of the droplets, right? You can see that from the first, like from the beginning onwards and the last, it is still the same, right? So we call that is the pinning of the droplet on the substrate. And because of the pinning, the droplet can't move, right? But the water is leaving from the systems. And that time, what you have to do is that, what the system wants, that, okay, I have to relax, right? So to relax that, it has to crack. But what kind of cracks will appear, that depends on the very, very initial conditions. So you can see here, one is human blood and another is liquid crystal. Don't bother if you do not know about liquid crystal, but you see that where they look very, very different, right? So yeah. So my first goal is to understand the physics, though I will not give the thorough presentation on what we learned about the physics. But the second goal is that, as I think most of you will be interested to know, that how we can use that as a diagnostic or screening platform. Okay, next slide, please. For next slide. Yeah, so you can just tap for having all the things. Yeah, so there are a lot of as you can see, applications, and it is not just disease, but you can see that if I think in India that is we all have that problem that whenever the milk comes, right, we always feel like, okay, is it mixed with water, that whether you are already cheated or it is like the actual raw milk, right? But if you just put a drop of raw milk and with milk with water, you will see the difference in the patterns. I mean, that's a very crude example, but you can use that for the food technology, and a lot of things can be done. The other thing is that I think after COVID-19, it's like whether the substrate or any kind of cloth we are wearing, whether those are micro-free, right? That we wanted to understand. So these kind of putting a drop, and then you can use those patterns to understand that whether it is infected or not infected, and even which kind of infection you have on the substrate. Okay. And last but not the least, I think disease diagnosis, as I mentioned. So what people have found is that there are already like kind of very less, but literature that that hints that if you are healthy and not healthy, the patterns are different. Not only that, but if you are having different stages of disease, for example, cancer, and so you will see the patterns are changing. So my research is all about being a physicist. I wanted to understand why and how these patterns are getting changed. And not only that, I wanted to translate that from lab to the market. Though I am very young in that, I have to do a lot of more research. Next slide, please. So I think everybody knows about this problem. What I think we are currently, no matter where we are, maybe in India or Japan or any country, I think we can treat the disease if we know that we are infected, right, or we have the disease. So the most important thing is that the early detection, that is important. So how we can do this early detection is that if we can make some kind of tools which can go to the remote areas, and without any cost and so on, they can just test that whether they are healthy or not, then I think we are good to go. Okay. So the way I am thinking is that it's like, as you can see in the right, that my thinking is very simple. You just put the drop, and then in the back end there will be AI, and there will be a lot of back end stories. But from a user point of view, they will just see the put a drop, and then they will get to know that whether they are diseased or not. And the other thing is that it's like right now I'm working more on the invasive fluids like blood and so. But then my idea is that even for diabetes and so on, not only just blood, but can we get into the urine or saliva, like non-invasive, so that you don't have the pain of needles or so. Okay. So next slide, please. Okay, so with that, I think we'll start with very proof of concept, because if I wanted to try with cancer and so, nobody will fund me. So this is all my work from JSPS postdoc fellowship, and that is why I am in Japan. So we tried with type 2 diabetes. I think previous speakers already talked about a lot of immune systems and ashwagandha, and also type 2 diabetes and other cancer-like diseases. So what we have done is that, can you just tap for this slide? So what we are doing is that we are taking the patient samples, though it is a very small set of study. So we are taking kind of 7 patients for each stage, and you know that for diabetes there is no kind of stage, right? So we are making the stage as to understand. So we have like HbA1c values, right? Some kind of like glucose levels, which beforehand, so that you can divide the patients. Okay. And once you have that, so I have divided into 3 stages, as you can see: healthy, low, and high diabetes. Next slide, please. So for that, you can see here, like it is the whole drying process, and you will see that as initially it looks very, very similar, but by the time it went to the end of the process, it's very, very different in the patterns. Okay. So We say these as a cracks. So now you can see that the cracks, if you just even count by eye, you will see that the trend is decreasing. Okay, and then there is a separation, like no cracks are present. Okay, next slide, please. So a little bit, people say that, oh, did you check the reproducibility and all, because you are working with clinical samples, so you can see that it is reproducible enough. Next slide, please. So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to find out what is the basic factor which is actually giving rise this kind of pattern difference. Okay, but there are so many factors. It can be the substrate to the film interaction, like we say the weightability or the contact angle. It can be the glucose which is present inside the blood, which is actually changing. It can be the folding of the proteins which are being present inside the blood. And by the way, we didn't do with the blood, the whole blood, but we removed the cellular parts. So we removed the RBC, WBCs, and platelets, and we have just taken the fluid which we call serum. Okay, so this is all results based on serum. And many factors can come. So in research, what you have to do is that you have to check one by one parameter and wanted to see that which parameter is making the changes in the pattern. So first thing is that we did, because the diabetes, it's all kind of known that glucose changes, right? Or glycation happens. So we tag the glucose, whatever is present inside the clinical samples, and we see that the distribution of the glucose during the drying process, it has changed. So green color is actually more or less, you can think of the concentration of the glucose present inside the blood serum. Okay, next slide, please. So what we have done is basically we now did some film profilometry, and we can see the height of the film, how these are depositing, and then we can actually find out a factor based on the glucose distribution, saying that how those are actually mapping for 3 different cases. Okay, so and then we utilize a theoretical calculation to match that whether we are right or wrong. Next slide, please. And then what we did, as I was mentioned, that there are not just glucose, right? You have to get rid of other factors, like whether the other factors are making sense or not. So we have done so many different, questions or different parameters to understand. Like, as I mentioned, that whether proteins are having the role. So we tag the proteins, but you see the distribution of the protein, which is like the red color in the right. So you will see that there is no difference for 3 different cases. We also did proteomics because it might happen that the metabolic or the biochemical biochemically protein are changing. Okay, so we also did that, and we found that there is no significant differences. And also physics wise, there is like viscosity can play a role. There could be some other factors. So we tried all the factors, and the ultimate result is like, no, there is no other factor is actually changing. Okay, next slide, please. So it's a continuation of that. So because we are putting a droplet, so then there would be a curvature effect, right? Because droplet is having this kind of shape. So whether there is a curvature effect, so we try to do that. But ultimately the story is that whenever we have any disease or any abnormality, it means that something is changing in terms of harmony, right? It's like whether it is changing in terms of composition, whether it is changing in terms of the structure, something is happening inside our body, right? So my hypothesis is that if the composition of the blood serum is changing due to, let's say, now it is sugar, so the glucose. So if it is changing of that, it means that it affects the whole thing, right? So because of that composition. But the surprising part is that when it is very in your body, whenever there is a disease or abnormality, it is like very, very minute change, right? It is like nano or some micro like level. But when you are having this kind of changes at that minimal, range, but when you can see these things, like you are drying and you are seeing those patterns are different, right? So it's like the connection between the very, very the I would say micrometer to macrometer kind of the length scale connection. Okay, that actually motivates me. And what I would like to do is that, okay, go to next slide. Is that okay? If we do, quickly go with the machine learning. Now, machine learning, people say that you need a big data, right? But when you do experiments in the lab, it's very difficult to get a big data, right? You can just get very hundreds or so some data. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that machine learning can be implemented in the very, very small scale data. And you have very different ways to do that. Let's not go with this. Let's come to the results. So next slide, please. So what we have done is that we have, as you can see, that we tested on different patients, and then we wanted to show the test results. So machine never have trained on these particular patient samples, and what we saw is that it's kind of 95 to 99% of the accuracy coming up. So this is very good results for us. Next slide, please. So what I'm trying to conclude is that it's like, not only just physics, what it is happening, but can we answer this kind of questions? Like right now it is, we took the patients who are having only diabetes, but not like that, but a patient can have other diseases also, right? It can have kidney disease or so how then this technique can be useful. Okay, next slide, please. But what I quickly wanted to show that is my proof of concept. But if you do for different diseases, right now you see this kind of corpus kind of I'm trying to develop, is that you will see that when the disease has changed, the pattern has changed. Though I do not understand why it is doing that. I have to do again 1 or 2 years of research for actually what is happening. But the good part is that it is giving us a very promising results. Okay, so next slide, please. So yeah, as I already mentioned, that I'm trying to kind of develop these kind of things in my whole career, not whole, but at least part of my career. Next slide, please. And I think I will end up with my academic journey. It's quite different places. So I started tap. So I started with integrated masters at University of Hyderabad in India, and then I moved to US for my PhD. Then I moved to UK for my first postdoc, and then I think I got JSPS fellowship, and that's what I am here. But I think my turning point, what I think of in my career, is that JSPS fellowship. Why it is so? Because whenever you are a postdoc, though you kids are very, very young to understand this, but when you are inside somebody's lab, you have to work on the PI's idea. It's not that bad. You have to work because she or he got the funding and you are funded by that grant. So you have to work on that. But if you get your own fellowship, like JSPS postdoc fellowship or Marie Curie or any other like available, you can work on your idea, because once you are done with your PhD, I think you get a lot of ideas to work on. So you don't have to wait to the point where you get your faculty position or you're starting the group. So it can be very early, and you can show the people that what you hypothesize or whatever your idea is, you can actually show it. So to me, I mean, or for me, I would say that thank you JSPS for believing me, or whatever reasons they selected me. But after JSPS, we patented this idea, we got so many publications and so on. And you can see that although it was not intentional, that it is like this, going like higher and higher, but it is actually like that in my career, right? So recently I got JSPS Kakeni grant as a PI, and also I got JST Sasagawa grant. So thank you so much for believing me, and I hope that for young kids, what I wanted to say is that though as a woman in being in a very moderate family background in India, I think everybody face these kind of challenges, that I am a single girl child. Okay, so a lot of lot of things, right? Why single girl, and you are like, you are going to abroad, and what will happen to you? And there are a lot of questions society will ask you. But I think that you need to have a lot of willpower, that I will do it. And also you need a lot of support from your parents, when you will get married, you need support from your in-laws. But at first, the desire should come from you, not others. So if you want to do something, if I can do from that remote area, and I can roam around in so many places, you can also do. So thank you so much, and I hope that my research journey has motivated you to do something new, or whenever you see something, drawing or something, you can just think of that what could be the physics out of it. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Anusuya. May I now invite Dr. Gayatri Potnancheri, visiting scholar under JST Lotus, to deliver her presentation.
Yes. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gayatri Patanjali, JST Lotus Fellow. So, before I begin, I would like to thank the Embassy of India in Japan for this opportunity to present my work, and especially to JST Lotus, because of which I'm here today. So, and Kumamoto University for hosting me. Today, I'll be presenting my research on exploring AI competency of teachers through multimodal learning analytics. So my work focuses on understanding how teachers interact with AI in real educational context. Sorry. Before I begin, a brief introduction about myself. I'm a third year PhD student of Cognitive Science and Technology in Andhra Vishwavidyapeetham, Kerala, India. And I'm currently here as a JST Lotus Fellow working across India and Japan. My research lies at the intersection of AI and education. And I'm working here with Dr. Rutajit Majumdar at Kumamoto University, and my Indian PI is Dr. Shashikant Shankar from Ahmedabad University, and my PhD supervisor is Dr. Bhavani Rao from Amrita. And before I begin, I would like to ask you a quick question. So, what comes to your mind when you think of AI in classrooms? So, just take a moment to think about it. You don't have to respond it louder. So usually when I ask this, I hear things like ChatGPT, personalization, or concerns about the misuse and the over-reliance on AI. So this mix of ideas shows that AI in education is both exciting as well as it is uncertain also. So this is a graph by World Economic Forum in 2024 presenting an overview of industries which demonstrate significant growth in the adoption of AI technologies. So from this graph itself, we can see that how AI is rapidly transforming education. So AI is no longer something futuristic. It is already a part of our classroom. So given this shift, AI competency for teachers become extremely important, right? So there are two key reasons for that. First is AI is entering classrooms very rapidly. And second thing is teachers as the central stakeholders of teaching and learning process, are expected to integrate AI meaningfully and responsibly in their classroom. So teachers are not just users of AI, so they are the one who are to guide the students as well. So this is one of the response from a teacher who was interviewed by UNESCO. So she was saying that ethos of being a teacher is that we are learners ourselves. So, and also they are positioned better than most to embrace this changes. So the question is, are these teachers prepared for this shift? So there comes a need to have a framework. So to address this, UNESCO has proposed an AI competency framework for teachers. So this framework emphasizes understanding AI concept, the human-centered mindset, and AI for professional development and ethical and responsible use of AI. So this framework provides a very strong foundation, but it does not fully capture what teachers actually do in real classroom situations. So when it comes to practice, teachers are facing several challenges. So this picture is exactly what happened in one of my studies. So when we asked them to self-report their AI competency and digital literacy with a questionnaire, they were marking it as they are feeling confident, but when it came to reality, they were not really sure about what to ask AI and how to structure their prompts even. So this is the ground reality which is happening now. So what we measure today is the technical skills and the perception through self-reports. But what we need is we need to understand the pedagogical aspects of it, how they actually behave in the classroom, and what are the practices that they do. So this is exactly where my research is positioned. How can we use AI as a tool and for teaching practice? So that is what we call AI PK, that is a pedagogical knowledge for AI. So it is about when should we use AI in teaching and how to question and validate AI's outputs, and also how to guide students to use AI ethically and responsibly. So there is a clear gap between frameworks and the real world practice. So this is where my research is positioned. So for that, I am using multimodal learning analytics as a method. So multimodal learning analytics is we can collect multiple forms of data such as interaction logs, time, prompt, audio, gestures, and biosensors. So we can analyze the learning in realistic learning environment. So the key idea is instead of asking teachers what they do, we observe what they actually do while interacting with AI through this multimodal learning analytics platform. So for my study, I use LA Reflect platform, which is an MMLA based platform that captures the teacher's AI interactions in a natural setting. This platform, LA Reflect, is developed by my PI here, Dr. Ritajit Majumdar, and his colleagues. So it has three major features. It can order tools to create tasks, and it can also log the multimodal data, and also they can support for reflection and feedback. Maybe you can access this platform through this QR if you are interested. Now, how I use this it for my studies, we use this platform with pre-service teachers. So pre-service teachers are the student teachers or the teacher candidates who are enrolled in teacher education. So I conducted 3 activities in LA Reflect platform. First one is prompt improvements, then designing an instruction strategy, then lesson planning. All of them with the help of AI. And we collected data on interaction logs, time, prompts, and reflections. So the study was conducted in IIT Jodhpur in Rajasthan with 40 pre-service teachers who were enrolled in integrated teacher education program. during their pedagogy of physical science lab session. So this was conducted in 4 sessions. First, in the first session, we collected the data on AI competency and digital literacy through self-reported questionnaire. And the second week, we conducted the second activity, which is prompt improvement. And in the third week, designing instructional strategy. And the fourth week, it was lesson planning. So these are some snippets from our data collection. So this is an example of one of the activity. The first activity, which is prompt improvement. So we had these elements: instruction, AI feedback, short answers, chatbot dialogue. So we gave them a context that them as a teacher for 9th grade students, their students are facing issues with understanding the concept of momentum. So how them as a teacher would structure the prompts to get a better explanation. So this was the context. So this is one of the findings that we had from this first activity only. So we analyzed the prompts. So here in this, design, redesign, and redesign, these 3 were analyzed, and out of which, for the design aspect, it was the unguided prompt that the participants gave by themselves. So we could see that groups who reported higher AI competency and digital literacy were having stronger connection with the objective and other constraints. So these are the several constructs of prompt development. So the groups with higher AI competency and digital literacy were connecting the prompts with objective and all other constructed as well. But the groups with lower AI competency and digital literacy were showing weaker connection with objective and other constructs. It is visible in this graph. So this for this, we use this epistemic network analysis as the method to analyze the prompts. So these are the proposed contributions from our study. So conceptually, we are planning to develop an AI competency framework for pedagogical knowledge. So methodologically, MLA based, this multimodal learning analytics based approach is an evidence-based approach for extracting the competency, and empirically to validate the data of self-reported one with the actual behavior. We use the LA reflect as a tool, and practically the insights for teacher training and policy. So yeah, for this teacher training and policy, this AI competency is not just about using tools. So it is about structured, reflective, and pedagogical thinking. So with this training program, we can maybe focus only on any of the aspects of the AI competency rather than having us full-fledged program for AI competency. Maybe we can focus on any of the aspects such as prompt improvement or how it can be used for pedagogical aspects, etc. So these are the proposed contributions. And so we need to move beyond teaching how to use AI tools and towards developing a deeper competency in thinking and pedagogy. And I plan to replicate this study in Japan to examine whether the findings are applicable in a different cultural and contextual situation, having more advanced technology, and to understand how factors like advanced infrastructure and distinct educational practices influence AI adoption. So that's it. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to JST Lotus Fellowship for supporting this research, and Embassy of India for this opportunity, and Kumamoto University for hosting me during this visit. So to conclude, AI competency in teachers is not just technical, but pedagogical, reflective, and analytical. So understanding how teachers interact with AI can help us design better training programs and frameworks. So thank you for your attention. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Potanjali. Next, I invite Dr. Harsha Prakash, Assistant Professor of Kyushu University, to present virtually.
Yeah. Shall I share my screen? Yeah. Okay. Okay, is it okay? Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Harsha from the Faculty of Agriculture, Kyushu University. The work I'll be sharing today comes from our Animal Life Science Lab, where we work on muscle biology and applied cell culture. Okay, I'm going to skip the introduction. Okay, this is my university, Kyushu University, and this is my laboratory, Animal Life Science Lab. Now I'll get into the research part. I'm working on making a sustainable food system. I'll explain why we need to produce our food or protein sustainably. To begin, let's look at some global issues. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, between 720 and 820 million people worldwide faced hunger in 2021. This food insecurity is going up with the global population. Furthermore, our current methods of food production has significant environmental consequences, including greenhouse gas emissions, excessive water usage, land degradation. So we need to find a sustainable solution for these issues. So the question becomes, how can we produce meat or food or protein while reducing the environmental impact and resource use? One possible solution that has gained global attention is cultured meat. And cultured meat is not a new idea. Even in 1932, people have imagined growing meat in a lab without raising a whole animal. And now we finally have the tools to try this in reality. So to put it simply, we want to make food without all the environmental and ethical costs that come with conventional meat production. If we don't change anything, the land use and biodiversity loss will continue to increase. We need 15,000 liters of water for making 1 kilogram of beef conventionally. If we shift even partially to alternative proteins, the environmental savings are very significant. And what we usually hear or see about climate change issues is just the surface. But beneath the surface, livestock farming contributes heavily to emissions, deforestation, and methane production. Every year, tens of billions of animals are raised and slaughtered. So even a small change in how the protein is produced can have a massive impact, as I mentioned before. We can also solve issues like avian flu or swine fever if we switch to cultured meat, which can solve another big problem regarding the food safety because we are growing the meat in a controlled environment or in a sterile lab. So what really is cultured meat? Cultured meat is real meat. The difference is that we grow the cells directly in a controlled environment instead of growing an entire animal. Biologically, it's the same tissue, the same cell. Let's compare the conventional and the cultured meat production process. Conventional livestock farming requires vast amount of land, water, and feed, with long growth cycles that can take months to years. It also produces massive amount of greenhouse gases, animal waste leading to land degradation. In contrast, cultured meat start with a small amount of cells, nutrients, and energy. And the growth cycles are much faster. It takes just a few weeks. And this process results in minimal waste and drastically lower emissions and the resource use. This is the workflow for making cultured meat. We collect the cells from animals via biopsy. Then the cells are grown in lab scales, and then they are added to the bioreactor with media and nutrients. The conditions of the bioreactor is well maintained, and some extra scaffolds are sometimes added to get the structure for the meat. The cells differentiate in there, forming various parts like meat and muscle. Then it's taken out, the extra water is removed, and it's ready to use. Now let's talk about the growth and the potential of cultured meat. The market for cultured meat is poised for significant growth. Projections show that the market reaching 36.5 billion by 2034 with a compound annual growth rate of 51%. Analysts also predict that meat alternatives, including cultured meat and plant-based proteins, could make up to 60% of the meat market by 2040. 2013 was the beginning of the cultured meat era. In 2013, the first cultured meat burger was publicly shown. It proved that this is practical, like it's not just a concept, it's practical. So in 2013, Mark Post from Maastricht University presented the first lab-grown burger in London. It was made from cow muscle stem cells grown in culture that assembled from 20,000 strands with added ingredients and like beetroot juice for coloring. The taste was meat-like, but less juicy due to the low fat. But the funniest thing was the cost. The cost of producing that just one burger was $330,000 US. So this is the hamburger which made for using the cultured meat, and this is the one from the supermarket. You can see it's almost identical. Even though it was insanely expensive, this moment shifted the cultivated meat from a science fiction to a real scientific and public discussion. This is the history of cultured meat. So the first cultured meat burger was made in 2013, and then within 10 years, the cultured meat is already available in market in a few countries. In some countries like Singapore and US, they have approved cultivated meat. Singapore was the first in the world to approve and sell cultured meat in 2020. And in United States, the regulatory approval came in 2023. In Australia in 2025, a cultivated quail product got approval for sale. In Israel, the first approval for cultivated beef came in 2014. In Japan and in India, we don't have legal sales yet. It's just pilot and research activities. In India, there are a lot of startups working on this. So, although cultivated meat is not yet legally sold in Japan, there is significant movement towards a regulatory preparation and the industry development. So conferences like Japan Celebrity Dialogue, it brings together the researchers, the regulators, and companies to discuss the future of cellular agriculture. I had the opportunity to attend one of these meetings where companies demonstrated fully cultured meat prototypes. I was able to see and even smell the product being prepared. So these kind of demonstrations show how quickly the field is progressing. And one good thing is that the cost of cultured meat has dropped dramatically over the past decade. In 2013, it was 1 to 10 million yen per kilogram. And by 2022, it has dropped to 10,000 to 100,000 yen. And by 2025, it reached around 10,000 yen per kilogram. So why is cultured meat so expensive? The two things that dominate the cost of cultured meat production are the cell culture media and the infrastructure, like bioreactors. So all the growth factors, the amino acids we use for making the media is expensive. And the bioreactors are energy consuming. So one way to control this is to reduce the media use or to fasten the cell growth. So we use less energy. So that's why the cell choice matters so much. Identifying the efficient seed cells that can grow quickly and produce structured meat is extremely important. If we can achieve that, we can reduce the cost to a certain level. So I'll explain how we do that in our lab. We are trying to find the best seed cell for cultured meat that can grow faster and in a more sustainable way. So just like planting crop starts with seeds, cultured meat production starts with cells. If we choose the wrong cell, the large-scale production becomes extremely difficult. And the current cultured meat products available in the market are poor in structure. They have flavor limitations. They are made from cells obtained by biopsy, which is again uncomfortable for the animals. So in our lab, we are trying to make meat with structure, not just minced cells. And we want to use the byproducts to obtain the cells. We are also trying to grow cultivated meat faster, so the overall cost decreases. These are the three different types of muscles in the body, the skeletal muscle, the cardiac muscle, and the smooth muscle. And in my study, I'm concentrating on the smooth muscle. There are several key advantages of using smooth muscle cells for cultured meat. First is the quality modulation. We can easily adjust the texture, the fat content, and the nutritional profile. Second is the rapid proliferation. Smooth muscles multiply faster than skeletal muscles, leading to a quicker production cycle. And the third is the byproduct utilization. Using this method, we can create value for the internal organs. Like around 30 to 40% of the livestock output is often discarded. So we are trying to get the cells from those waste products or those byproducts. But the problem is that the smooth muscle cells are comparatively understudied despite their significant potential. So we have to study right from the basic biology of like how these cells work. One of the mechanisms we are focusing on is this. We are seeing the differentiation mechanism of the cells. Smooth muscle cells can change the phenotype depending on the growth condition we provide. Smooth muscle cells can switch states like differentiated and de-differentiated state. And we are trying to use this mechanism in order to improve this and improve the quality and also in order to make this overall process faster. For all these studies, we are sourcing the cells in two different ways. One is from day 15 embryo gizzards. We incubate the eggs for 15 days, sacrifice them and collect the gizzard and collect the cells from them and then grow them in the lab. And the second approach, we collect the cells in explant method. In this method, we collect the gizzard or the stomach or these byproducts from the butchery in a very safe way. We bring it to the lab, we take a small piece of the meat and we try to grow the cells from that small piece of meat. It's called explant method. So over time the cells attach to the culture surface, proliferate, and they can be expanded further. So this approach is like simple, general on the cells, and it helps to maintain their physiological characteristics. A major application of our work is the utilization of livestock waste. As I mentioned before, like 30 to 45% of the livestock output is often discarded, and we are trying to use them. And we are using our technology to transform this waste into a high-value protein resource, contributing to the food security by creating a cellular system for livestock resources. Coming to the future goals of our lab, other than the food security and the sustainable impact, we are also trying to use our knowledge on smooth muscles to study diseases like endometriosis and atherosclerosis. And these are some real-life cultured meat products in the market. And this is our team. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prakash. Now I invite Dr. Divyavani Gowda, Assistant Professor of the Hokkaido University, to deliver her presentation virtually.
Yeah. Can you see my slides? Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to present in this seminar. So myself, Divyavani Gowda, working as an assistant professor in the Faculty of Health Science, Okada University. Today, I am going to talk on uncovering the lipid difference in the human milk and infant formula. So before going into the detail of my research, I would like to talk on macronutrients. We all know that carbs, protein, and the fats are the macronutrients. And there is a very good saying that all fats are lipids, but not all the lipids are fat. Yeah, it's true. We know this from our high school. So these lipids have a diverse group of hydrophobic molecules, including triglycerol, phospholipids, and sterols, and so on. Whereas when it comes to the fats, they are the small type of lipids that includes only triglycerides, and they are solid at room temperature and primarily used as an energy storage and insulation. So this is the background of lipids. And when we come to the classification of the lipids, there are totally 8 major classification of lipids. Until now, 50,000 lipids have been identified and characterized, and researchers are working day and night to increase the lipids number. And why these lipids are important? Because these lipids play a vital role when it comes to the cell structure, and they also helps in the vitamin absorption like A, D, E, K, and they also helps in the hormone production, and they also protects our organ. And when we look into the human plasma, lipids contribute its major role when compared to carbohydrates, amino acids, and the nucleic acids. And we all know when it comes to lipids, there are 2 types of, that is exogenic and endogenic lipids. Exogenic lipids are nothing, the lipids that our body cannot synthesize. We need to consume from the food, like omega-6 or the omega-3 fatty acids. In the early era of lipidomics, scientists have come across when the mice are completely excluded from the fat, the mice started developing diseases, and they're because of the lipid dysregulated in the lipid function. So these lipids play a very important role in our day-to-day lives. And our lab mainly focus on the lipidomics. Our lab name is called as LALA, that is Laboratory for Advanced Lipid Analysis. Here we focus on lipid chemistry, lipidomics, and food function. And my major topic, today's topic is focusing on the infant formula and the human milk. Why we need to focus on this topic? Because according to the World Health Organization, breastfeeding the infant within the first hour of birth and at first 6 months is very important. Very important. And addition to that, the World Health Organization is aiming to increase the percentage of babies under 6 years old for the exclusive breastfeeding. Currently in the global, the percentage is around 44. So they are planning to increase to 70% by the end of 2030. When we look into the Japanese data, under the 3 months infants are feeding by 54%, whereas in the case of 6 months baby are only 37%. That indicates that the infants exclusive breastfeeding in Japan is low when compared to the global percentage. Why breastfeeding is important? Because it's reduce the cancer risk for the mother, and it's economical, and mother can be recover easily. And when it comes to the children, it is less allergic, and it's hygienic, and it also protects against the infection. So why, if the mothers are decreasing the milk feeding or no feeding, what will be the effect on the children? So their gastrointestinal diseases, they are susceptible for that. And in the case of mothers, they have the increase of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity, and so on. So these are the problems which mothers and the baby can face when they are reducing the feeding. So when we look into the lipidomics data in Japan, what we find, there are very limited study, or we can say there are no comprehensive lipid analysis of the Japanese mother milk. So our main focus of this research was to profile the lipidomics in exclusive Japanese mother milk and to compare the infant formula using our LCMS technique. So why we need to focus? Because infant formula global market is rising rapidly. So our research question is, does this infant formula resemble the composition of actual human milk? Is it so? So for this one, we collected nearly 160 of mother milk and we categorize into mothers' different age and their BMI and their lifestyle, whether mothers are smoking or are consuming alcohol during the pregnancy or during the breastfeeding. This is how we categorize the samples. So addition to that, we find some very popular infant formula that's are available in Japan and we purchased them from the supermarket. Currently, this infant formula includes the mix of macronutrients like protein, fat, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. The main composition of protein are used from the cow milk proteins, and when it comes to fat, they are using from the vegetable oil, and for the carbohydrates, they are using the lactose. And addition to this, they are also including the DHA, probiotic, prebiotic to support the infant growth. But how about the exact composition of the lipids between the infant formula and the human milk is same? That is the biggest question. So when it comes to the lipidomics, the analytical technique used is the majorly LCMS. So there are two types of analysis, that is the target and one is untarget. So this is the extraction protocol generally we use for the quantification of lipids, and these are the software. Generally we used MS-Dial, Excalibur and MetaboAnalyst for the data processing, data visualization and profiling. So here let's move to the result. When we look into the human milk and the infant formula, the biggest difference what we noticed is the higher level of omega-3 fatty acids were found in the human milk, whereas in the case of infant formula, it was just 17%, and omega-6 fatty acids was 64% in the case of human milk, whereas in the case of infant formula, it was 80%. So omega-6 is considered as an inflammatory. So this omega-3 and the omega-6 both are important, but their concentration should be balanced. And when we look into the saturated and unsaturated fatty acid, what we noticed in the case of human milk, PUFA, that is polyunsaturated fatty acids, contribute to 48%, whereas in the case of infant formula, their concentration is just 15%. So this clearly indicates that the lipid composition between human milk and infant formula is entirely different. Addition to that, we try to check the mother who are smoking and who are non-smoking, is there are any difference in the lipid composition? Yes, we notice the TGs and the fatty acid 15:0 are significantly decreased in the mothers who are smoking. These TGs are considered as then long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids. They are medium-chain triglycerol, and they are very important for the growth of the infant. And addition to that, we also try to look into alcohol consuming and the non-alcoholic human milk sample. Here also we find out that the DG are almost it's like a 0 level in the mother's sample who are consuming alcohol. And the DG play a very important role in the support of membrane formation, brain development and the organ development. So this clearly indicates the mother lifestyle play a very important role when it comes to lipid composition for the infant. So addition to that, we also find the FAFAs. These are very important FAFAs. I will explain next slide. So these FAFAs concentrations are very high in the human milk and their concentration was very low. Addition to this, three type of FAFAs, that is the DHA and the EPA derived FAFAs were almost 0 in the infant formula, and these FAFAs were present in the human milk. So this clearly indicates that the human milk and the infant formulas are the composition entirely different. So why? What is the importance of this FAFA? These FAFAs in the human milk produce a protection effect against the inflammation, and they also helps in the metabolic disorder, and they also help in the gut of the infant. So in near future, I think the infant formula companies, if they include the newly identified FAFA in their composition, it will be a very helpful. So by this, I would like to summarize my presentation that human milk has a complex lipidomics when compared to the infant formulas. And the omega-3 fatty acids are very high in the human milk when compared to infant formula. This can be improved in near future. And the FAFAs are concentration is very high in the human milk, and their concentration is almost zero. So even though the infant formulas companies are trying their best to increase and to mimic the human milk composition, I hope our research and we have a lot of things to publish. So this will be helpful for them to improve their products. So this is my lab. Thank you for your attention. I had a less time, so I rushed to present myself. I'm very sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Goda. Finally, I invite Dr. Athera Nandakumar, Assistant Professor of Kagoshima University, to present virtually.
Yes. Can I share my slide? Can you see the slide? Okay, thank you. Namaste. Gratitude to Embassy of India for this meaningful opportunity for including me and all other women members today who presented here, and also the women members of IJSST, including us in the National Day celebration. My name is Athera. I am from Department of Epidemiology and Preventive Medicine in Kagoshima University. Today, I am here to introduce you a study called Japan Multi-Institutional Cohort Study. Can you see the slides? I have difficulty in changing the slides. Is it visible? I think it's not visible. Is this good enough? If I put it in the full screen, okay. Yeah, thank you. Sorry for that, because the slide was getting stuck. So because we don't have much time, so I would be very quick with my presentation. So the study area is Kagoshima Prefecture. It's from Tokyo, it's around 1,200 kilometers down. There is the Kagoshima city. As you see on the right side of the figure is where Kagoshima city is. And this is one of the 4 islands. Kyushu is where Kagoshima city is located. And this I will skip. So I have reached Japan in 2009 as a MEC scholar. And after that, I graduated my PhD and then started working in Kagoshima University. Down here is my family, Dhruva and Surya. Surya is my son who is in the 3rd standard. Without their support, I think everybody here know women in science, the most difficult part of us is the family. If family support us, we can be successful. So I'm also a member of IJSST of the Kyushu Okinawa chapter. When I hear about the women in science, the first thing come to me is I heard about the concept of women in science. I had no idea before. When Kagoshima University came up with Kagoshima University Women in Science for Health program, WISH, and I have been part of this program from 2020 onwards. My job is, I am an epidemiologist. Epidemiologist means we study about diseases. So any kind of diseases we study. So my research field is very varied. I study different kind of diseases, and today I will be talking to you about the Japan Multi-Institutional Cohort Study about lifestyle, genetics, and chronic diseases. As the name mentioned, Japan multi-institutional means there are so many institutions, around 14 institutions, as you see in the graph. 14 institutes are part of this cohort study. And the primary aim was to understand the gene-environment interaction and the lifestyle-related diseases such as cancer, cardiovascular diseases, and stroke. In this study, we have more than 100,000 participants who are above the age of 35. In the Kagoshima, so as you see in the figure on the right side, Kagoshima city down there, so down to Kagoshima, there is, we have islands, Amami Islands. Islands means it's plural, so we have like Amami Oshima, Kikaijima, Tokunoshima, Yoronshima, and Okinawa. These are the five bigger islands among the Amami Islands where many people are living. So we target the people living in this region. This region is a subtropical climate comparing to other part of Japan, and they have this is a home to many endemic species. And because of that, UNESCO has made it a World Natural Heritage Site in 2021. And the people who live here, the islanders, they are centenarians. Centenarians means people who live more than 100 years of age. So there are many people who in these islands who are more than 100 years of age. And it is believed to be because of the Yuimaru spirit. Yuimaru spirit means the people of this island, they like to have a mutual aid and to live as a community, which is different from the mainland of Japan. And they also have traditional diet, which is rich in brown sugar and local vegetables, which is totally different from the mainland people. As I mentioned, the centenarians. So the national average of Japan for centenarians is 76 per 100,000 people. And that for Kagoshima, it is 103. But for Oshima district means the island. Oshima means island. So it is around 205. So when comparing to the national average, the island people are 2.7 times live more than the mainlanders. So for this study, we pick up around 13 municipalities in the Amami Island region and three of the mainland regions as a comparison. In totally, out of our 7,000 participants of Kagoshima area, 65% are from the Amami Island and the rest is from the Kagoshima city area. And we will be continuing this study until 2034. So how do we do this study? We started this study in 2009. I became a part of this study from 2009 onwards when I was a PhD student. So at this step, so I also was part of this in some islands. And what we did at first is we did some questionnaire survey and we collected the blood samples and urine sample of these people. And we check some basic things like arteriosclerosis check, blood pressure or other health checkup, and then their body composition, grip strength, etc. And after the first baseline survey is finished, every 5 years, we conducted a follow-up survey on the same people who underwent the baseline survey to understand whether they are alive or not. If they are alive, do they have any diseases? So we try to track their disease incidence on a long-term schedule until 2034. So this is the workflow. I will explain in it. So what we do is we kind of prepare, this is my laboratory. We prepare kind of questionnaire for each and every member, 7,000 residents of Kagoshima. And then before our study, 1 to 2 months before our clinical day, we send them post to each of their houses. And then 2 weeks prior to our trip, we send all our equipments, which is necessary for the health camp by Sagawa. And then once we reach the island, that is 1 day before our work, we kind of visit the town halls and then take our rental cars and we set up our clinical examination things. And then we wait for the people. Once the day of clinical examination happens, we also ask some of the local members to help us, because Kagoshima University, we have only in our department, we have only 5 or 6 people. So we cannot do everything by ourselves. So we also ask the local staff to help us to do the survey. And this is how once the survey is finished, as we are in Japan, we clean up everything, pack up and shift everything, pack back to Japan, back to Kagoshima, and then we come back, and then the survey is concluded. That's how we do every 5 years. And how do we do? For example, this is Okinarabjima Island. So this is the airport, and to here, this is 20 kilometers. This is one of the most beautiful island I have been ever. And the people living here are very stranded. They don't belong to one region. So what we do, we go from one region to another. So usually we go for a 15-day trip. So 1 or 2 days in one region, and from there we pack and move to the next day, and then again we pack and move. So like that, we go around whole island to cover all the people. So that is done every 5 years. And this is how it looks like. So we have a registration, and then the participants come from one to another, and they undergo several checks, and finally they get their results, and they get the results like this is a Japanese version of the results, and they can understand how their health is like. This is a part of the health checkup we give them freely because they are our study subjects. The results. What we found is that the kokto or brown sugar, which is like similar to Indian jaggery. So the islanders of Kagoshima, Amami, this region, these people eat this kokto as a snack together with their tea. Also, they use this a lot for cooking comparing to other part. I think other part of mainland of Japan, they don't use kokto much, but islanders, even in Kagoshima mainland, people use this. And then next unique island vegetables included handama, togan, and papaya. These three are also very popular among the people of this region. And the next is thalassotherapy. This is nothing but a pool where the seawater is put inside, and this seawater is heated. So the people of this region come to this pool almost every day or alternative days. It's a free service. You can find in almost any part of the island. And there are free shuttle bus service too for the older people to come here. So they come here as a community, and they do exercise together inside this heated seawater pool. So these are the unique things what we found in the island. And this kokto, handama, and togan seems to be very important for their life, for them to live more. What we found is that the kokto or the brown sugar decreases significantly the all types of cancer among them, especially stomach cancer and breast cancer. And similar thing we saw for handama and togan. Handama and togan also significantly increase their lifespan. And then next part is about the arteriosclerosis risk. Japan has found out a method called CAVI, Cardio Angle Vascular Index. What does it mean? It's a normal artery of a person looks like this. But if you have a risk factor, or if you are old enough, your thickness of the artery increases. So this CAVI is an index, which if you are a normal person or a young person, your CAVI index will be lower. That means if you don't have any cardiovascular risk, means your CAVI index will be lower. So this is how a person will get checked, how what is his CAVI value. And what we found is that when comparing to the Kagoshima mainland people, the Amami Islanders have significantly lesser CAVI values. And that's similar when we check for males, also it is lower, and for females also it is lower. And that was the results. And then after knowing the results, we also, because these are older people, and what we do is that we take lectures. The professors from Kagoshima University, they visit there together with us, and they give lectures. What we found out, we give them back to them the results. So the summary is that the traditional dietary habits and the sea-connected lifestyle support longevity in the islands of Kagoshima. Why does this kind of research matter? Because it can better make prevention strategies, and maybe make more personalized health advices, and can detect early diseases such as cancer, and improve the public health policies. That's all. My acknowledgement to the residents of Amami and Kagoshima city, and to all the lab members who were past and present who contributed for this. With that, to all the women in science, keep inspiring, keep leading, and keep transforming the world through your work. And this picture I have taken last week, and as you see here in this picture, our epidemiology department is completely women-led epidemiology department of Kagoshima University, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Nandakumar. With this, we conclude the event India-Japan Science, Technology and Innovation Year 2025-26. grand finale, and National Science Day celebration. Thank you once again for your participation and presence today.